welcome back to our YouTube channel. Again, thank you for commenting, liking, subscribing, remembering subscribe, like and comment. Today's case is the Princess Diana and Prince Charles case. Now this is going to be in 3 parts, alright. Today's will be the Prince and Princesses. The next case will be the Harry and Meghan, and the next case will be the Prince Andrew case. So it'll be the royals that we're doing. We'll again, like every other case we've done, we will do the spirit box at the end. With this case, and the reason I've chose to do this is, it is very much in the media at the moment around Prince Andrew and around the royals in general, especially Meghan and Harry. So I think that it would be a good case to cover because of the amount of interest in the case at the moment as well. But it'll be very interesting to hear what comes through the spirit box, especially around Diana. Right, thank you again for watching. I hope you put the kettle on. Let's get started. And I do apologise if I'm speaking too fast. I am doing my best to slow myself down. Diana Frances Spencer was born on the 1st of July 1961. Her mum and dad, John and Frances, also had 2 daughters, Sarah and Jane, and a son, Charles. Sadly, a year before Diana was born, Frances, her mother, had lost a son, John. He was born and died shortly after his birth. Now, Diana was very fortunate. She was born into money and very close to the royals. She was born in Sandringham, Norfolk, and where she lived was close to where the royals holidayed. So she would, when she was younger, play with Prince Andrew and Prince Edward. When Diana was 7, her mum and dad divorced, and her dad was given full custody of Diana. It was said that Diana was happy with that arrangement. It was also said that her mum wasn't the best of mum either. Diana did later describe her childhood as sad and very unhappy, especially through her school years as well. Diana came from wealth, so she grew up around the royals. Prince Andrew, Prince Edward. Charles was much older than Diana, but it was said that Diana dreamed of marrying Charles to be the Queen and be part of royalty and get married at Kensington Palace. So again, I don't know what truth's in that, but it strikes me so far like she's already within that circle, that it would have been the case that if it wasn't Charles she married, that it would have been some sort of royal or connection with that. When Diana was 16, it was the first time she met Charles. Now, that was at a time that Charles was actually dating her sister Sarah. When Diana was 17, she moved to London and moved into a flat alongside 7 friends. Now, at that time, Diana took some low-paid jobs. Diana wasn't above any job. She was a nanny, she was a hostess, she was a house cleaner as well. Again, in 1980, Charles started to show a little interest in Diana, so they started dating, and the paparazzi went absolutely crazy for this.
Any announcements of your marriage in the near future, can you tell me? Can you tell me if there's any possibility?
I'm not going to say anything.
Right. Right, but Prince Charles did give us a hint himself. He said we wouldn't have to wait too long.
Careful.
Friend. Now, just my opinion here, you can even see in the last footage there that she is very caring and still watching at that point, helping the paparazzi the best that she can. As my opinion, she fits the bill of the princess, of what you would want or expect out of a princess. Whether, if we look at the reality at that time, was Charles in love with Diana, or was he in love with Camilla, but she didn't fit the bill to be the princess? When Charles and Diana originally met, Diana was 16 and Charles was 29. There was a lot of pressure on Charles to pick someone because he was getting older. So again, he picked Diana. Now, my opinion is because she fit the bill of what the Queen would have looked for. But there was a lot of tension between Camilla and Diana from the off. In February 1981, Charles made a decision to ask to marry Diana. Now, she didn't agree straight away because she knew what the responsibility of the royals entailed. But then eventually she did agree. So again, you can imagine the paparazzi went absolutely mental.
Been sharing a flat with friends. But when had Charles actually proposed?
Well, I asked Diana before she went to Australia, 2-3 days before, because I thought it'd be a good idea that, apart from anything else, if she went to Australia, she could then think about it. And if she didn't like the idea, she could say she didn't. Or if she did, she could say that. But in fact, you actually said...
Yes, quite
yes,
promptly. Well, it wasn't a difficult decision in the end. That's what I wanted. That's what I want.
It's a tremendous change for someone, if I may say, of 19 to make all of a sudden. Not back to the nursery and not back, not back to flat sharing, presumably.
Nope.
You sort of made a little grimace there as if you rather liked flat sharing, and that is something.
No,
You're
I was
giving up.
referring to the children. I miss them.
You miss looking after the children.
Yes.
Well, they certainly miss you, wouldn't they?
I hope so. But I think anyone in the position we've been in would feel the pressure and everything. But it's been worthwhile, every bit of it. And next to it, Charles and I can't go wrong. He's there with me.
And I'm amazed that she's been brave enough to take me on.
And I suppose in love.
Of course.
Whatever in love means.
Yes.
Well, it
can put your own
means,
interpretation.
obviously means two very happy people.
As you can see.
Well, from us, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So as you can see in that video, things are going very quickly at this point for Diana. What I do get as a psychic in that video is that a lot of sadness. I feel she wanted to be in love with him, but she already knew that he had that barrier up. I feel she already knew she was playing second place. She was a face, I feel she thought. When Charles said whatever love means, now in a later interview after they divorced, Diana brought that up again and said how she felt about that comment, that it totally threw her at that point that he'd said that, because I think that was the point she realised that maybe he was in it not for the right reasons.
You're going to marry somebody who perhaps one day is going to become queen. And you've got to choose somebody very carefully, I think, who could fulfill this particular role. Because people like you, perhaps, would expect quite a lot from somebody like that.
And the most extraordinary thing is we had this ghastly interview on the day we announced our engagement, and this ridiculous ITN man said, "Are you in love?" So I thought, what a thick question. So I said, yes, of course we are, in the sort of fat, stern ranger that I was. And Charles turned around and said, what ever in love means. And that threw me completely. I thought, what a strange question. God, I was so traumatized.
And suddenly I had a policeman, and my policeman the night before the engagement had said to me, I just want you to know that this is your last night of freedom ever in the rest of your life, so make the most of it.
On the 29th of July 1981, Prince Charles and Princess Diana married. Now, in their vows, she refused to have the word obey and made them remove the word in the vows. Now, again, it was a media frenzy. She was the first person in the royal family at this point to work before she came into the royal family as well.
To my wedded husband.
Once Diana and Charles were married, the pressure was on for an heir, but also Diana was becoming known as the people's princess, so she was getting a lot of attention. She was becoming a serious influence within the country, but not also that. The royals weren't used to that, and Diana, again, was becoming the people's princess, as later down the line she was known as. William was born in 1982, and Harry was born in 1984. When the boys were born, Diana picked her own nanny, but she also chose the boys' names. Now, she spent more time with the boys and didn't use the nanny as much as probably what you'd expect. With that as well, that was unknown to the royals. So again, there's footage of Diana with her boys and being a very relatable mum. In my opinion at this point is that the royals maybe didn't like that because they were not used to people being able to relate to them. And because Diana was coming across as relatable to every other mum out there at that time, again, it says in a lot of documentaries that didn't make the royals happy. But again, it could have just been new to them as well. Diana went on to do a lot of charity work, but one thing in particular at that point, which I would say is movement and probably made things change for the better, was the AIDS crisis. She was one of the first people to go and shake hands with someone with AIDS on camera, just to prove that you couldn't catch it by basically shaking hands. And I think if someone like that hadn't have done that, how would we again look at AIDS today, present, right now? So I think she's been a massive figure in the movement and the change of that.
My visit to organisations which support couples and children in difficulty is that there are certain common ingredients essential for families of all sizes and types. There must of course be love, but love in its most practical forms. Commitment to each other, sharing together, self-discipline, and some self-sacrifice.
Despite Diana's popularity, the media would always write negative stories about her. She couldn't go anywhere without being chased by the paparazzi, but also it was royal protocol to ask for permission to leave, to go and do certain things. And I can imagine, in looking into this case for Diana, that would have been a quick change very quickly. We have to remember that she was in a flat with her 7 friends, probably having girls' chats most nights, and everything was very settled. And at that age, she was just gaining her freedom. She didn't have it long before it was then taken off her again. So it's a massive change for someone, and it's a massive responsibility. And I can imagine maybe at that point, especially around the media side, that would have been a horrible, horrible time for Diana.
Bedroom. I cried like a baby in the 4 walls. I just couldn't cope with it. So that first week was such a traumatic week for me. I learned to be royal in 1 week. I was thrown into the deep end. Nobody ever helped me at all. They'd be there to criticise, but never be there to throw myself down the stairs. Bearing in mind I was carrying a child. Queen comes out, absolutely horrified, shaking. She's so frightened. I knew I wasn't going to lose the baby. Quite bruised around the stomach. And Charles went out riding, and when he came back, it was just dismissal, total dismissal. After 5 years of being married, my sister Jane came up to see me, and I had a V-neck on and shorts. She said, "Dutch, what's that marking on your chest?" And I said, "Oh, it's nothing." She said, "What is it?" And the night before, I wanted to talk to Charles about something. He wouldn't listen to me. He said I was crying wolf. So I picked up his penknife off his dressing table and scratched myself heavily down my chest and my both thighs. There was a lot of blood, and it hadn't made any reaction.
The royal family weren't over keen about Diana speaking out about her mental health, but what we need to remember is mental health today, we promote to speak out, we talk about it, but even as little as 10 years ago, it was a very, very taboo subject, and especially back then. So it's another thing that I think Diana has changed within this world, especially around the mental health. She had bulimia. Now, it was said Diana had said she'd got this because of Charles. He'd made a comment after they just got married saying, getting a bit chubby there. Now, she'd also had 2 children, so you can imagine being very postnatal, dealing with the media going in on your appearance as well as your own husband as well, or maybe she was sensitive and took it that way. Diana had had suicidal thoughts. She was obviously had postnatal depression. But in that time as well, she'd also found out that Camilla was back on the scene. And again, it is your own opinion to whether you think Camilla was ever off the scene. Personally, psychically, I get Camilla never left the scene. As I said at the start of this video, I feel Diana was a face for this. And I feel sadly deep down she knew that. And again, that can bring out insecurities. So from the minute she got married, again, the bulimia started, all these different issues, because she was probably constantly looking in at herself thinking, why do I not make him happy, or why do I not make him feel like that? And sadly, the thing is, everyone has different soulmates. When she found out and questioned him, Prince Charles' response was, I refuse to be the only Prince of Wales without a mistress. It just kind of starts to show the mentality of this.
Nothing, whatever happens, I'll always love you. And I told him I'd listened at the door.
Now, between Diane feeling really low on herself and finding out about Charles and Camilla, Diana then went on to have her own affair with the actor James Hewitt. Now, it is said that, now this is a royal conspiracy theory, alright, but a lot of people do say that James Hewitt could be Harry's father. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop it up and you can comment below and tell me what you guys think. What do you think? Comment below and let me know. I do see a massive similarity, definitely, but I do feel that's a different case on its own. So again, as it stands right now, it is a conspiracy theory, but comment below and let me know what you guys think. And remember, like, comment and subscribe. I keep forgetting my videos to remind you guys, but it is greatly appreciated. Now, bearing in mind this is an alleged affair, so if this had happened, it had happened 18 months before Harry was born. But also, it had been happening throughout that time as well. It happened on more than one occasion. It was decided in 1992 that Charles and Diana would separate. Now, 3 years later, Diana done an interview with the BBC. Now, she discussed how unhappy she was in her marriage, how sad she was. She openly discussed about herself and Charles' affairs. Now, it really hit the full establishment, their reputation, Charles, the Queen, Prince Philip as well, for the sheer fact that, again, there had been no help around her mental health, and now she was speaking out about it. What I do get is the next video I'm about to say to each and every person out there, listen to her words. She speaks so much truth and she has so much strength, and the words that she spoke then could help someone right now.
People's hearts, in people's hearts. But I don't see myself being Queen of this country. I don't think many people would want me to be Queen. Actually, when I say many people, I mean the establishment that I'm married into, because they've decided that I'm a non-starter, because I do things differently, because I don't go by a rule book, because I lead from the heart, not the head. And albeit that's got me into trouble in my work, I understand that. But someone's got to go out there and love people and show it.
And do you think that because of the way you behave, that's precluded you effectively from becoming Queen?
Yes, well, not precluded me, I wouldn't say that. I just don't think I have as many supporters in that environment than I did. They see me as a threat of some kind, and I'm here to do good. I'm not a destructive person. I think every strong woman in history has had to walk down a similar path, and I think it's the strength that causes the confusion and the fear. Why is she strong? Where does she get it from? Where is she taking it? Where is she going to use it? Why do the public still support her? When I say public, you're going into an engagement and there's a great many people.
I feel that interview was her already knowing what the possible consequences to this could be, but I also feel the interview was brought forward and so prompt for more reasons for her to let the royals know that she wasn't just going to speak something, she was going to action it. I get that psychically. I'll just pop that in this part of the video. We are going to do the spirit box at the end anyway, but I am really, really interested in doing the spirit box just for this reason, because the next two cases as well. Now remember, please subscribe to come back and watch the next cases when they're uploaded. But it'll be interesting by doing the spirit box in all these times as well, that what's going to come after a month of that interview airing. The Queen advises Prince Charles and Diana to go for divorce. Again, 3 years and they hadn't divorced at this point. It makes you think, by the sounds of it, both of them wanted a divorce. They were both going in their separate ways, so why weren't they divorced? Is it because the Queen had so much power over that marriage at that point as well? Comment below if you know the answer, or you think they do. I think the Queen was just trying to avoid further scandal at this point, but again, Diana didn't disappoint, because then Diana put her own statement out. Part of Diana's statement was that Charles had impregnated his assistant Tiggy and she then had an abortion. Now it was said that Tiggy and Charles were furious about these claims, and that Tiggy's lawyer had contacted Diana, but there's no truth, or I don't know what's true in it, and I couldn't find anything to say whether it was true or not. But I think it's quite a big claim to make. And again, the royal family are all about things being perfect and looking perfect, so even if it was the case, would there be any sort of admission with that? Again, comment below. Eventually the divorce was settled in August 1996. One of the terms within the divorce was that Diana would lose her title of Your Royal Highness. Now there's a lot of different reports to how she actually felt about that, but I psychically get at that point it didn't matter to her. I think, again, maybe at the start when she was 17, 18, she wanted to be part of the royals. The grass is always greener, then she's lived it and realised. So I don't psychically get that that was a big issue to her, but looking at some media reports, it said that it was a big issue to her, and also speculation on whose decision that was. Was that Charles? My psychic belief is it was the Queen's decision, because she was never blood related to the royal family as such. Just by this time it meant that Charles and Camilla could then be together, and literally that is what played out. But also on that note, Diana then met Dodi Fayed. Now he originally was a film producer. Also, it was very publicised when she did meet Dodi. Again, paparazzi were so interested in her, whether it could be good, bad. But I would say at this point, people were looking on, seeing Diana rebuild her life and be happy. Looking at some of the videos, you see she looks a lot healthier in herself, a lot more content in herself. She's not as isolated, not as, if you look back at Diana in the 80s and early 90s, she's very sheepish in herself, whether when you see footage of her with Dodi Fayed, she's very, very confident in herself, which would tell me that that person brings out the best in her and she feels very safe with that person. Dodi was also the son of an Egyptian billionaire, also part of Harrods as well. The day of the 7th of August 97, they had been on a boat that day, Diana and Dodi. Now the paparazzi had not left them alone the whole day. They were also staying at the Ritz Hotel in Paris. Now they were staying at the Ritz Hotel. It can't be confirmed or denied, but there was 2 rings purchased at a local jeweller's, which was then sent to Dodi Faid's suite. Now, it's said by Dodi's friend that he was planning in asking Diana to marry him. They also did have reservations at a very nice restaurant that night. So you think about it, 2 rings. You wouldn't need to be a psychic to work it out. But I do think it's very strange. When they did decide to go to the restaurant, they made their way outside the hotel and the paparazzi were still there. Now, they were swarmed, so Dodi decided that it would be safer to have their dinner in their suite. Now, the reason for that was Dodi was quite paranoid that some of the guests could actually be paparazzi as well. So they went back to the suite and they had their dinner. At 12 o'clock or just after midnight, they decided they were going to Dodi's apartment. Now, I'm not really sure why. There is no reports to why they decided at that point to do that. They did head back outside. They were swarmed again. The media was still there. So Andre Paul, the driver, was driving the black Merc S280. The black limo was owned by the hotel. It was also decided that the security guard would go as well, Trevor, as well as Diana and Dodi. Now, they basically sent their security out the front to let the paps think that they were following Diana, and they left through the back. But unfortunately, they were detected and noticed and also followed. And when they reached the tunnel, the car lost control inside the tunnel and hit off the pillar. The driver, Andre Paul, was dead instantly. Dodi was fired out the car and landed 20 yards in front of the car. Trevor, the security guard, had survived because he was wearing a seatbelt. And at this point, Diana was still speaking and was shouting out. As the doctor said, when he approached the limo, she was still conscious and speaking. At this, doctor said that Diana was shouting out for Dodi. But also, and a bit of a trigger warning here because it's very, very sad, the paparazzi chased that car into the tunnel, and the doctor said that when Diana was still in the wreckage, they were less than a few centimetres away from her face, still taking photos. Could you imagine for that poor lady at that point, when she's probably, her full life is flashed in front of her, her beautiful boys, how her life is, and then you have these inconsiderate people that have basically took her life to stand there and take pictures. According to the doctor, her last words were, "Oh my God, leave me alone, leave me alone." Diana was cut out the wreckage with a chainsaw. Now, she didn't go to the hospital until 1:20 a.m. Now, that was over an hour after the accident had happened. They were treating her on the scene. They said that she wasn't stable enough to be moved at that point. On way to the hospital, she had a cardiac arrest. Diana's accident was 12:23 in the morning. She arrived at the hospital at 2 o'clock and it was confirmed that she was dead at 4:01. She'd suffered 2 cardiac arrests and they finally took her into surgery, and sadly she passed away on the table.
Princess of Wales has been seriously injured in a car accident in Paris.
We interrupt this film to tell you we are getting reports that Diana, Princess of Wales, has been badly injured in a car crash in France.
It's been reported in the last few minutes that Diana, Princess of Wales, has been seriously injured in a car crash in Paris.
I'm Patrick Stinson with breaking news coverage. Princess Diana is seriously injured and 2 other people have died following a car crash in Paris.
Diana is dead. She died at 4 o'clock this morning.
We have reports from Paris that Diana, Princess of Wales, has been killed in a car accident, and that her partner, Dodi Fayed has also been killed. They were apparently being pursued by paparazzi.
The world has lost a princess who is, quite frankly, irreplaceable, and Mr. Al Fayed has lost a greatly loved eldest son.
We're having a swell time, although Princess Diana has been injured gravely. It's been reported, allegedly.
We're watching it on CNN.
There's a huge accident.
It's alleged. It happened 2 hours ago.
Oh. It's breaking news. It has changed. Princess Diana seriously injured.
Oh.
They've added the word seriously.
That's not good.
That's not good.
In other words, her face got it.
Dodi Al Fayed is dead, as was the driver from the Ritz.
You know that would be the most photographed car. What a picture of life.
Roadside assistance.
With load towing.
Princess Diana dead.
Where's the remote?
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah, she didn't make it. Oh my God.
Because it's still going on.
But it appears to be official. Princess Diana, at the age of 36, has died of massive internal injuries she suffered in a car accident along with her companion.
That accident took place in 1997. In situations like that, you always remember where you were. I remember it being a Sunday morning. We always went to chapel with my gran, and I remember my gran waking us up and telling us and watching all the news footage. And again, being 12 years of age, I was born in 85. I was born in between the years of William and Harry. Relatable ages. I just remember thinking about those boys all day. We ended up going to Stirling Castle that day, and the flag was flown at half-mast, and that's my first memory of remembering why a flag was half-mast. I don't think I did know before then. It was a very, very sad day. So again, I'm sure I'm not the only one that can think where they were when they found that sad news out. And again, our hearts probably all went out to those boys. And I'm gathering, I was still young, I was 12, but I'm gathering there must have been some suspicion as well. Trevor, the bodyguard who survived, was in a coma for 10 days and he broke every bone in his face. People were hoping when he woke up, he would be able to say a little bit more, or be able to then say what happened. Unfortunately, he couldn't remember anything past being at the hotel just before he got into the limo. Now, the tunnel was cleaned down fairly quickly, and it was opened back up again within 24 hours, which again, an official report came out, and it was claimed that the driver, Andre Paul, had been 3 times over the legal limit and that he was absolutely wasted, basically. What I will say on this is I'll show you the footage of the driver just before the crash to see what your own thoughts are. Please, again, comment below. To do with this, he was sent home that day, and then he was called back in, obviously to take Dodi and Diana to Dodi's apartment. Although he looks okay in the footage, there is a suggestion that's been made he's maybe went home that day and had a drink because he's maybe thought that he's not had to go back to work, and then he's had the call to go back. I psychically get something in round about that. Due to all the speculation with the conspiracy theories, whether it was the royals would take her out, it was the paparazzi, it was the driver, an inquest was opened, Operation Paget, in 2004. Now, it was completed in 2008, and this was to rule out any sort of foul play. This inquest came back with that the driver was doing 65 miles per hour, which was far too fast within that tunnel. But it was also said that the paparazzi did play a part within this. Now, one part of this was that there was a Fiat Uno that a witness had said that they had seen push the car into the side, and the car had nearly hit a couple as well, which then came forward within the inquest. 3 other witnesses said they seen a flashlight as they were coming into the tunnel, but the British police ruled that out and said it didn't happen because they didn't have any witnesses. But 3 people did say that they'd seen that and thought that it possibly blinded the driver as well, but they never ever found the Fiat Uno. They also questioned 9 reporters, and one motorcyclist regarding the incident as well. Again, they were looking to charge them with not aiding at the scene, but it was also said with a conspiracy theory that they possibly made the crash happen so that they could get pictures. There was white paint found on the Merc, on the bonnet and on the bumper. French authorities tried for 2 years to try and identify this car. They never found it, so they never ever got a positive identity to who was driving that car, which I find very strange. Obviously, we have to remember this was 1997. We don't have the resources that we have now in situations like that, but you think that they would try a little bit harder considering the accident and how public the accident was as well. In fact, for anyone in an accident like that, surely some sort of CCTV, but what I will say is it did come back that none of the CCTV was working in the tunnel. Some bits were pushed around different ways, but again there was no clear direction, so again they couldn't look for CCTV. There was a few suspects, and the first suspect was Lee Van Den. He was 22 years old at the time, and he did drive a white Uno. Now what happened was there was an eyewitness that identified him as the driver, but according to his dad, he'd come in that evening after the crash a few hours later. Now bearing in mind the crash was at 12:23 in the morning. He'd woke his brothers up and asked them could they paint the car with him from white to red, and he also changed the bumpers. Now the French authorities interviewed him for 6 hours, and they said that his alibi checked out and that he couldn't have been part of it. His alibi was that he was at work. The work then confirmed that he did actually leave early that day. It baffles me to why that's been left to how it is. It's crazy, but he wasn't the only suspect. Suspect was James Anderson. Now James Anderson was the paparazzi who was a man who followed Diana everywhere, and it was very well known by Diana. She'd already felt harassed by this man from a week before previous in an incident that happened. What had happened was he also drove a Fiat Uno, but 6 hours after the accident he left Paris and flew to Corsica. Now, when the police briefly interviewed him, they cleared him pretty quickly. His wife had given him an alibi to say that she was with him, but then retracted it. And just about 2 years later, the police actually found his in 2000, the police found his BMW in south of France in the forest. He was burnt to death, but he had 2 bullet wounds in his head, as a fireman said, but the autopsy showed that there was 1 bullet wound. But here's the creepy part. His head and his body were in separate parts of the car, and they deemed it suicide. Is that me, or is that just really weird? So he shot himself in the head and then put the car on fire, or did he put the car on fire and then shoot himself in the head? Like, this has been a very sad case. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some of Diana's funeral footage, just again to young people who watch YouTube who were maybe not alive when this happened, to see how our news and our media played out at that point, but also just as a reminder to people who do remember, where were you that day? Did you watch the funeral? I'm going to do the spirit box shortly after it. I am very interested around that. Please, as always, the spirit box can be very hard of hearing. I do get the odd comment saying that there's too many voices in the spirit box. I've already addressed it. I like to have more than one voice in the spirit box because it does build a story. That is the reason I use that spirit box. I'm not going to change that, so apologies if it does give you a sore head, but it'll be very interesting to see, and we'll do that just next after this.
Throughout London, all flags except this Royal Standard at Buckingham Palace are at half-mast. The Royal Standard, showing where the Queen is in residence, remains at the top of the mast. But at the Palace of Westminster here, in the morning sunshine, and at Westminster Abbey, the West Door, where in 2 hours' time the small cortege that will carry the body of the princess for the funeral service will arrive.
The mood here, I think, has changed rather in that time as well. What I described earlier as quiet and reflective has become rather more serious, and I think there is an increasing sense of anticipation that this week of mourning is going to become altogether more real when people do see that funeral procession and the cortege, and in particular...
We're looking down now into South Carriage Drive with that little pavilion on the left that guards one of the gates that allow the public through into the park. See the Archbishop of Canterbury coming in, who married them in St. Paul's, the Princess and the Prince of Wales 16 years ago, and will be taking part in this service today, reading some of the prayers. Now leaving Buckingham Palace on her way to Westminster Abbey, and uniquely now the Union flag will be flown at half-mast from the palace staff.
The Dean of Westminster, the Very Reverend Dr. Wesley Carr. Through into this building which has seen so many occasions of history, so many occasions of heartbreaking remembrance. And when the bearer party halt within the west door,
and made them feel significant. In her death, she commands the sympathy of millions. Whatever our beliefs and faith, let us with thanksgiving remember her life and enjoyment of it.
Like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Candles burned out long before your legend ever will.
At this part we do the conclusion, but I'm going to do it the opposite way about tonight, and the reason I'm going to do that is because I'm quite intrigued myself to see what comes through the spirit box. I have wrote some questions down. What I'll do is I'll just go through them one by one. I have about 10 questions, but I do think it's questions that you would want me to ask, but pop comments below if you hear anything within the spirit box. Let's get started. So the first one is, Diana, if you're with us, who was responsible for your death? Diana, if you're with us, who is responsible for your death? Use my energy if you have to. Diana, were you pregnant? I got was thinking it. The reason I have not brought that into the video is because psychically I didn't get that she was. You can see what you hear from in the spirit box will comment below, but I still get there's a no there. Next question. Diana, if you're with us, are you happy with William, your eldest son?
Scary. It's the thing.
I'm going to give you what I get round this. The name Sarah is obviously Prince Andrew's ex-wife. I feel her and William are very close right now. Now again, it could be to do with the Prince Andrew scandal. That is another case. It's going to be up in the next week or so remember and subscribe. But I do get that William's going to come out and back him, and I feel she's telling us through the spirit box as if she's not happy. Am I right, Diana? Your father. Right, okay, I'm going to go to the next question. I'm going to come back to that. Are you happy with Harry, Diana? Does Harry know who his father is? He's healthy and he's rich. Right, okay, we'll go on to the next question. I'll do my conclusion at the end. Diana, did you know something you shouldn't have known about the royal family? Something in September in a locked door. I feel there's a man and he's actually having a full conversation. Please comment below if you heard anything. Diana, did you threaten to expose something or someone? Yes. Diana, who did you threaten to expose? Say the name, Dylan. I don't know if she said the name or not. I'll see if he's popped the comment below. I thought I heard it near the end there. The next question is, do you like Kate, Diana? feel she does, but I feel Kate reminds her very much of Sarah Ferguson, which I don't feel was always a good thing, because I do feel that Diana felt let down by Sarah Ferguson. And that's just off the record, not that I've looked anything up, but psychically I get it. Diana, do you like Megan? Diana, do you have any messages for anyone else or anything you would like to tell us? Don't whisper. Very active all of a sudden. Diana, are you happy? Diana, do you have any messages for us? Anything you'd like us to know? No. I hear someone saying check Google. Candy what? I want to. Off there, and it said constitutional. Can you tell us what's going to happen to the royal family in the next year?
Keep it very much.
Guys, we're going to head to the conclusion. I'm really happy with the Spirit Box tonight, actually. I can't wait to watch it back myself. I always find it easier once I watch it back to place something together, but I do feel it's very active. Again, that's why I love it. There's more than one character in there. I do feel Prince Philip's in there, but I'm going to leave that for another case, especially with a certain accent at one point. I get that Diana is in spirit alongside 4 ladies and 2 men. One man's not blood related, well that could be Dodie actually, but the rest are blood related round about her. I don't feel she was pregnant. Again, it's just my psychic opinion. Before I really looked into this case, I just presumed she was as well. But doing the Spirit Box and hearing a lot more, I actually feel I'm going to go back after I do this video and do a little bit more digging around it. I find the Diana case very, very, very interesting, but also it's a very divided case. A case that's actually divided her boys, which I think is incredibly, incredibly sad. Let's do the conclusion, and I will give a trigger warning on this. You might not like my comments, it is just my opinion, it's just my psychic vibe. If you don't like it, move on. You don't have to leave bad comments, just move on, because if you do, I'm quite good with the trolls. Look my Facebook. My conclusion. I see a pattern with Diana and Charles and the Queen and Philip. The Queen was very, very young when she got with Philip. So again, not to be disrespectful, but you usually find people who are in relationships from a very, very young age can be a little bit more naive in themselves. And again, the stronger character can then rule the relationship, which I believe in that case would have been Prince Philip. Although everyone expected the Queen to be ruling it, I don't believe that was the case. It was the exact same with Charles and Diana. Diana didn't play as well as what the Queen did, hence why the inevitability of her divorce to Charles What I do believe is that the inquest was correct. I do believe it was drink driving, and I think the biggest key indicator with that was the fact that he went home for a little bit and came back, and I do think it was a genuine mistake that he didn't expect to be back out, the driver. Diana was a very, very young girl, a naive girl when she got with Charles. Right away, Diana was 16 when she met Charles and he was 29. 13 years of an age gap. Now, a year before that, he would have been classed as a paedophile. I'm just saying. For the fact that the tendencies are the exact same with the Queen and Prince Philip. She was very, very young as well. Diana was easily manipulated. I do believe the bulimia took place because of the pressure of being under the royals and the fact that she got into that marriage knowing that she was never going to be number one, which I feel really affected her confidence, which we say to women and men every day, never settle for second best for reasons like that, because it can be very traumatic and it can absolutely torture you. And in Diana's case, unfortunately, it did. And I do believe that she did have mental health issues. Her mum did. And that was one of the reasons that Diana's dad was then given custody of Diana. So I do believe that there may be certain behaviours and patterns that played out around Diana. What I do feel sad that is we never spoke enough about bulimia at the time, mental health, all these different things that we take for granted for today, speaking out. She was ostracised by the royal family for how she was. What I do get is the Queen was very heavily embarrassed by her. I don't feel the Queen or Prince Philip ever considered the mental health side of things or the change in that girl's life or how that was going to be. I feel the fact that Diana was so strong-minded, that was problematic to the Queen. And I feel more Prince Philip than anything else, because I feel it was more of a manly thing, and because Charles was the oldest and he expected the same for Charles as he had for himself, and he had a high expectation of women because of the Queen and things like that as well. So it was a lot of pressure for Diana. I don't feel Charles and Camilla ever ended their affair, and I don't feel Diana never didn't know, but I do feel when she got concrete evidence here in the phone call that was the first reality, that she was sacrificing, staying at home, scared to go out because of the paparazzi, and Charles was still as much living his best life. I feel that's what frustrated Diana, but I do believe she was so in love with the idea of being married within the royals, then having the boys. I believe when she had William, that's when she could have ended that marriage or wanted to, but there was no way out at that point. And I think that's why the affair started, because she knew he was with Camilla, and for what I get from it, it actually suited both of them. With Harry's paternity, I wouldn't dare make big speculation on it. Put it in the comments, but I think as well we have to be considerate and respectful around it. I do believe that Diana's death has affected William and Harry massively, where I think Harry is very like his mum and I feel William is very like his dad, and I feel that's why William and Harry don't go on. It goes without saying who takes their role more serious. I have never been with Harry and Meghan or against them. I've never really held an opinion, for the sheer reason that it's someone's relationship, it's no one else's business. He's chose to leave the monarchy and he has been heavily criticised around this, but I do believe he's doing what he expects his mum would want him to do. Whether I feel William does know that he's let his mum down a good few times because of his father. I don't feel Harry is half as in the know with the royals on which William is, but I honestly believe that Harry and Meghan are doing more right by Diana than what William is. Just my psychic opinion. We will never truly know the truth around this case, but what I do get is the royals might have not been responsible for Diana's death within the accident, and even if they were, we'll never prove it. But one thing they could hold their hands up to and say they're responsible for the mental health, the mental abuse that lady endured, which was pretty public when you look back. And it's one thing I noticed when looking back on the footage now, there'd been no responsibility for that. We now sit with a queen that's about to fund her son, Prince Andrew, potentially being a paedophile, but no questions asked, she's funding that. That tells me, and she might be old, but that is a validation for me, that lady's morals aren't where they should be, son or no son. What about all the children and the victims? My next case is going to be Harry and Meghan. That's why I've not said too much on it. The case after that will be the Prince Andrew case. If you're on my Facebook or my Instagram, you probably already know my views on this, but if not, please go and check it out, Christie's Readings. I'm also on TikTok and Snapchat as well. All Christie's Readings across all the platforms. I really hope you have enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I spoke a little bit slower where people can understand, but just a big shout out to all my American subscribers. It's greatly appreciated, and again, I'm doing my best to slow down. Please, please, please subscribe for our next case. It will be up by Friday. So in the next 5 days, the next case for the Royals will be going up. As I said, it's a 3-parter. It could extend into a 4-parter, depending on what comes out the spirit box. Thank you so much. Please stay safe, take care, and have a good evening.